Test. Welcome to WFM Radio. This is In Between Pieces, brought to you by Writings from Michael, where I discuss entrepreneurship from the lens of an artist and business mindset. This conversation is made with love and joy for your mission, your purpose, your calling, and your journey. Welcome with love. Peace. All right, so we are back with another episode of WFM Radio In Between Pieces. And note, I am 30 years old today, 30 laps around the sun. Now, that feels great. I'm going to tell you like this. 30 years old, 30 years around the sun, you still got to pay bills. That's the one thing I learned about being 30. And it's really a mindset of what 30 is. I feel like when you get older, you do look back on your past and your childhood, and you're like, man, your childhood is one of those valuable things where it comes once in a lifetime, and value it. So I'm at a point now where I've been working so hard. Shout out to Junior behind the cam for helping me put this beautiful production together. But we've been putting the work in, day in, day out. So it feels really good to get to a space where we get a couple of eyes on it. Shout out to you for watching it, wherever you are from, wherever country you're from. I want to give a shout out to and much love and peace and stability to Ukraine. Anybody from Ukraine, much love. And I wish you just true safety and peace. But to this topic of, the value in sitting on the bench, right? And I'm going to go back to my childhood of sitting on the bench. I played ball. I went to St. Joe's High School in Metuchen. And I went to high school for basketball per se, right? I made this opportunity and choice to take a shift, right? I was going to a public school. Shout out to my Franklin people. Shout out to my Franklin family, friends, all my loved ones in Franklin. And I lived in Somerset, which is Franklin. I guess it's a long story short. Same town, different names, right? Just different kind of corridors, right? But I took the chance to go to St. Joe's, which I thought at the time, and I still feel secure in my positioning at the time, was like, this was a better opportunity for me personally, right? For me, I wanted to be in an environment where I put myself into like this different comfort zone. I'm a black man from Somerset, New Jersey, man. Obviously, I was born in East Orange, raised in Somerset. So for me going to this all predominantly white school, it was all boys. It was focused on basketball. Shout out to Andrew Bynum. Shout out to Jason Williams. Now Carl Towns, much love. It was like this curated basketball experience, and it really put me in a situation where I was like, I had to focus. I had to take a test for the school. So for me, I wanted to get outside my comfort zone and be into it. So this was the one chance I had to do just that. Now, mind you, I met my wife in 8th grade. Didn't think at that time we blossomed to this right here, but look where we are. So you really just take the chance on love, I per se. But back to the topic is the value on sitting on the bench. I thought I was the greatest ball player of all time at that point, right? Point guard, I wasn't the tallest guy, but I had speed, I had quickness, I had tenacity, just playing defense. So going to St. Joe's was that time to let's shine, baby, let's shine. So my freshman year, I did make it to varsity, but was still practicing varsity summers. Made it to JV, started JV, and I was proud of that. I wasn't like, hey, this is the end all be all, not making varsity. For me, I was on the JV team, started, and we made some dope experiences out of it, man. Shout out to Najee, man, big beloved brother of mine at the time here in St. Joe's, man. We made some great history. Mark, who am I thinking about, man? I can't even think of this. Shout out to Andrew, one of my good friends here. And we made some history being at St. Joe's. And for me, I thought I was going to be starting at a certain point or playing predominantly. And I get to my sophomore year, I'm riding that pine. And if you don't know, for the young cuts, man, riding that pine is sitting on the bench. I was sitting on the bench with all this talent per se I thought I had in this sport. And I had a lot of love for it and began to develop a little bit of animosity within, but still came mentally, still came my 100% self at practice. And I say the value when sitting at the bench, looking back on it in hindsight, is it's like, that is your waiting period. And I feel a lot of us folks right now watching this, it's your waiting period. Just because you're sitting on the bench at the time where you think you're supposed to be doing something, you should be shining, you should be playing in the game, coach should have you in, it's your waiting period. And sometimes the waiting period is building you up for that time where you're going to be on starting five, where you go and have the rock, where you got to drop 50 points a game. Now we at a point, I got to drop 60 points a game, man. Shout out to Junior, man. We're passing the rock all the time. So it's about just being patient in those times where we're on our time. Really, we on divine time. And those times where you're waiting and you're going through these periods where you're putting so much animosity in your mind for no reason, right? You have anxiety for doing things where you think it should be on this timeline and you think it should be going the way you think it is. Sometimes you have to surrender to the grace of your journey, right? Sometimes you have to surrender to God's plans for you. And sometimes that plan is not on the time you want it. But if you just wait, be patient, and still come to the actual day 150%. I mean, giving it your all. Even if it's not the way you see it as, that's the developing the character inside. I always say it's in you, not on you. You got to have it in you. So those times where I was my sophomore, junior year, I was really thinking, like, damn, like, I came here for this reason. I'm not playing at all. And I got my pops coming to the game sometime. My mom, just a devout supporter. They watching me ride the pine, man. I probably practiced more than I played. And that's just the honest truth. So I know a lot of cats, a lot of young folk could be in a situation where you think this is it, right? You think that just because this waiting period, this the end all be all. And I'm here to tell you it's not, right? And I'm going to correlate this back to your creative journey, because sometimes within that waiting period is really the universe telling you to hone in on your other skill sets. And this is why we can't be one-dimensional. This is why we can't be narrow-minded and thinking that this is the only way to get to success. Because just because you're not starting or you're playing for the sports you want to play in, don't mean you can't be playing to that sport. Let's metaphorically speak now. Metaphorically, once you get into your calling, right? We talked about this last episode. You answer that calling and your gift, and you understand that, okay, I may not be gifted in this per se, right? I'm not gifted in basketball. I love it, right? It's two different things, right? Your gift comes from that calling. So once you answer that, right? Once I wasn't playing, I was like, I have to get a job, right? I started working for Foot Locker my sophomore year. I started working for Verizon, which is door-to-door sales, which to me at that point, it braced me for what I'm doing now. Being in front of people every day, not every day, but on the weekends on the trading post, I have to have almost an open heart, right? There's so many different clients and customers that I meet on a weekly basis that are not from where I'm from. We have different creeds, different backgrounds, but that doesn't say that you have a common denominator, and that's just connecting to people. It's deeper than clothes. Like you said before, man, it is about the people and connecting. So those times when I was sitting the bench, I was also writing. I was putting together little designs, not thinking it would go anywhere, but just developing on a different skill set. And then I get to a point, go to college, I'm like, all right, now let me put myself around that skill set. So it's like understanding, your journey is multitudes of seasons. There's always reason to keep going. That's a pun. We have that collection piece on the site. No shameless plug. But really, it is multitudes of seasons. And that season for me was not all basketball. I had to understand that, let me take a step back from what I'm thinking and how it's supposed to be, and let me just dive into what it is. It is what it is. One of the most philosophical quotes there ever will be. It is what it is. If you're not playing, let's focus on something else, because we can't let our attitude damper us down when the only time we have is right now. The only time you have is this moment, right? You're watching this. This is this moment, not the past, not the future. Because really, is there a future? Is there a past? It's only right now. So I go to say the value in sitting on the bench, even if you don't play sports, maybe you're at a job and they're not giving you the opportunities that you think you should have. That's the time to take a scale back, right? And say, look, let me focus on some different skill sets. Let me put myself in position to get in position. And we can give out position. Woo, I'm loving the bars right now, man. I got to write this down. But nothing to say, there really is value in sitting on the bench. When I look back at my years of being in high school, it really developed me as a young man over the course of years. And I look back on those things and like, those are the most valuable lessons you can learn as a kid, because you think it's the end all be all, man. You think it's like, man, you ain't playing. It's sad. Why are you sad? Life is too short in the grand scheme of things. Even if you live 80 years in the grand scheme of what life was is a short period of time, or 85 or 90 years. Shout out to the adults who've lived to these 90-year-old marks. It's a beautiful thing. But it's a small portion of life where you can't be upset about things, right? I think gratitude comes from just life, period. I'm grateful to have life, right? Shout out to Junior. He got 2 kids, right? Grateful to give life. And that's the beauty of life, right? So we can't let these small things where we have timelines on things where we're letting it get within our journey and our mindset, right? These are the cultivating periods. These are the planting periods. These are the periods where you are actually building your armor for the future. So I'm going to say this. There's value in sitting on the bench. Sometimes you got to sit the bench to be a part of that top 5. So I send you off with this, man. Keep going and don't lose hindsight and don't lose sight of the true vision at hand. It's just a small portion of time. One day at a time, one piece at a time. Let me get back to my pieces. I got to ship these pieces out, man. Shout out to everybody that's ordering on the actual website, writersformichael.com. We got more on the way. Much, much love. And by the way, send your boy some birthday wishes, man. 30 laps around the sun. Come on, man. Much love. Peace. And you just listened to WFM Radio In Between Pieces. Please like, subscribe, download, and spread this conversation with love and joy. Keep going on your mission, your purpose, your calling, and your journey.